wants me to get over there right away and change the batteries in his mold traps because they were up last week and they got mold popping up already. So he's like, I got 12 of them, Bill. You got to find them.
Yes.
Got to change the batteries.
Been following him around a little
Jim,
bit.
I'll get back to you on.
He definitely did.
The next closest person.
Do you know why?
He didn't know.
Nope, because I didn't ask.
Oh, we had a meeting in and out like 25 minutes.
Things move quick.
That's all right. That's all right.
Yes.
You know where we gotta be.
Kind of like what regional has, I don't know if Gilbert has.
The Irish accent.
No.
Come on, I'm 25% here, so I can do that.
I'm 25% too, you never know it. 50% over here.
I'm a mutt. 25, 25.
Irish and Italian.
I typically only claim the Italian part, which is half.
Except on St. Patty's Day.
Why not? Of course, it's Monday in Winston, which means nothing's open if you wanted to go have a party.
Northwest Deli was open for lunch. Steak and cheese.
We should try to convince some of our restaurants to close Tuesday night, so at least something's open on
My
Monday.
brother had the pizza place in Torrey. That's what we did because everybody was closed on Monday.
Yeah.
He's like, we can clean up on Mondays.
Yeah?
Send it home and see what happens.
At the trade school, like, 2 of my older siblings My sister.
See if I can catch it Todd before it dings this time.
So, fire marshal isn't going to ding us on having
Nah.
too many people in our business.
I think it's 70.
Yeah. I was a kid.
Southern was the UConn of women's sports, like UConn is today, but Southern was then.
Good evening. Today is Monday, March 17th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Before we call the regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen's meeting to order, we have a couple of acknowledgements of athletic accomplishments. Come on up front. First, we'd like to congratulate and introduce Emily Ariel, who is the all-time leading scorer for the Gilbert School and the Berkshire League with,
2,407.
see, you told me the
I
wrong
was off
number.
2 points.
Being a student athlete and excelling at that is often difficult keeping in with your schoolwork. So the town of Winchester would like to present this certificate of excellence presented to Emily Ariel. In recognition of your outstanding achievements, your dedication, and your excellence in basketball, we proudly acknowledge that you've reached the prestigious 2,000-point mark. This is a remarkable accomplishment that reflects not only your skills and your hard work, but also your commitment to the sport and to the Gilbert School team. Congratulations.
Emily, are you third on the state all-time list?
I'm fourth, yeah.
Fourth.
Fourth,
Third, fourth's great honor.
Same difference.
How many points separate third and fourth?
Like 10 or 15.
Oh, you got, oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then
it's
there
season's
was like
over.
another 5 from second to third.
So it's that tight,
Yeah,
it's
it's
that
really
close.
close.
Wow.
And Emily's also going to be the grand marshal at the pep parade this year,
But first time ever a student's been the Grand Marshal, so look for her when you all come down. Thank you, guys. You're welcome.
We would also like to congratulate and acknowledge Evan Sheeby, the first ever Gilbert School wrestler to win be a state champion in the state of Connecticut and going to the quarterfinals in the New England Wrestling Tournament. We'd also like to recognize the Rec Travel Basketball League. Congratulations to Coach Jerry Rich and Erica Murphy on winning back-to-back league championships for the 7th and 8th grade Winsted Rec team. With that, can we have a call to order?
Linda Grappo.
Troy Lemire.
Paul Marino.
Paul Harrington.
Todd Archelashi.
William Hester.
Candy Perez.
William Pozo.
The town clerk is also in attendance. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving on to item 3, agenda review.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to move the swearing in of our new fire chief up behind the approval of minutes.
That.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Troy. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Item 4, the approval of minutes from our regular meeting on March 3rd.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from March 3rd.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill. Any discussion, corrections? All in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? 601. Minutes are passed. Item 4, the appointment of the Town of Winchester Fire Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, I am pleased to announce the following strong recommendation from our fire department, John Field, as our next fire chief. Chief Field brings over 3 decades of distinguished public safety leadership to communities, including a remarkable 27-year tenure with the Torrington Fire Department, where he served as fire chief from 2001 to 2012. Throughout his career, Chief Field has demonstrated exceptional leadership and innovated in emergency services. During his time in Torrington, he spearheaded several crucial initiatives, including implementing a comprehensive vehicle replacement program, modernizing the department's fleet with 3 new pumpers and equipment apparatus, and overseeing significant improvements to the North End Fire Station. His commitment to excellence extends beyond his department, as he has also served as assistant director at the Burrville Fire Training School for 21 years, helping shape the next generation of firefighters. Chief Field's expertise in emergency management is particularly noteworthy. After his tenure in Torrington, he took on a role as regional coordinator with the Department of Emergency Management for the state of Connecticut, where he further developed his skills in large-scale emergency response and interagency coordination. His experience leading the Northwest CT Public Safety Task Force has given him valuable insight into regional emergency preparedness and response strategies. The recommendation from our fire department underscores the confidence in his ability to lead, innovate, and effectively engage with our community. His track record of building strong relationships with neighboring departments and his extensive experience in both volunteer and career firefighting environments make him uniquely qualified to lead our department. I am confident that his expertise and dedication to public safety will greatly benefit our town, ensuring that Winsted continues to enjoy a robust and reliable fire service. Chief Field's appointment represents not just a new chapter for our department, but a significant step forward in enhancing our community emergency response capabilities. His proven leadership in modernizing operations, commitment to firefighting training, and extensive background in emergency management align perfectly with our goals for the future of Winsted's fire service. I look forward to working alongside Chief Field as we continue to build our legacy of service and safeguard our community for years to come.
With that being said, I would like to make a motion to appoint John Fields as our new fire chief for the town of Winsted.
And I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Unanimous? Congratulations.
not saying something, you can grab the mic.
Say something?
The floor is yours.
No, I look forward to working. As you guys know, you guys have a very fine group of firefighters here in the city of Winston, and I just look forward to working with all of them and actually moving things forward. And Jamie's done a phenomenal job, so I got some big boots to fill, but we'll do our best to do that. And Jamie's not going far, so I can grab a hold of him anytime I want. So perfect. So, look forward to it, though. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
And before we move on, I do want to thank former Chief Legacy, but current Fire Marshal for the many years of service as the Fire Chief. You did an excellent job. I know I've enjoyed working with you over the past year. Thank you. The double duty hats are only, 2-3 weeks away, and you can go home to your wife. I know you will be. So thank you, Mr. Legacy. Thank you.
Moving on to item 5.
Thank you.
We moved you up so I could leave, you know? Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Chief. Thanks, guys.
I know, it's not flowing.
Okay, this is empty. Just like that. Boom.
That's it. That emptied the room. It's like being in the front of the class in school, right? Yeah.
Moving on to item 5, citizens' comments. The Board of Selectmen welcomes public comments. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes and may speak once this round. Please give your name and address. Would anyone like to speak? Going once, going twice. Moving on to the town manager's report, item 6.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report's obviously for March 4th through March 17th. Quickly, because most of the last 2 weeks was spent finalizing the budget. Speaking of the budget update, the proposed fiscal year 25-26 budget has been submitted to the Board of Selectmen. I know all of you have picked up your binders tonight. I did supply the Cliff Note version of the budget. It was left at your seat when you arrived tonight. That does not have much of the details, but just line items. So please take that home with you as well tonight. I also, obviously, per my email, I encourage all the board members to review the overview letter that accompanied the budget. I think while some changes have been implemented from previous years, these modifications align with Government Finance Officers Association, which is commonly known as GFOA standards, which strengthens our position for future bonding and audit process. I welcome any questions regarding the budget and request the board's preference for scheduling open session discussions to finalize the budget proposals for residents. I'll also note that I will be supplying an addendum to the budget probably tomorrow. I am missing a schedule that I noticed late this afternoon when meeting with one of our select people. So look for an addendum probably going out tomorrow. It doesn't change the budget, it's just an accounting of some of the capital items that I need to show a little bit more clearer. Moving on, Main Street initiatives. Our recent meeting, as I promised at our last meeting, with Commissioner Eucalito, who is the DOT commissioner, exceeded my expectation. He presented comprehensive traffic calming solutions for implementation this spring and summer. The planned improvements include lane dieting and enhanced pedestrian safety measures. Though these initial changes will be implemented using paint, they are expected to significantly impact traffic patterns and safety. Detailed plans are available up in my office. I'm waiting for the electronic version so I can distribute to all of you, but simply, and I'm gonna go a little bit longer on this. Commissioner Euclid and his engineers were present in Town Hall last week with ironclad plans that the DOT or the state of Connecticut will look to implement again, spring, summer, where we're gonna be looking at lane dieting, where there won't be curbs necessarily put in. There will be new painting being done to lane diet down some of the roads. Come up to my office, please, look at the plans. We were simply blown away with the plans that they had come in with. These have all been approved by them, and they're going to do all of the work. There are other areas where we're looking at adding flexible ballards around crosswalk areas. And also, I know this has been talked about in the past, those yellow light-ups that you see on the streets. They are positioning us to get grants from the state of Connecticut, so there's no actual cost to the town of Winsted to add either the flexible ballards or these temporary lighting, which we hope to all get done sometime this spring and summer. But again, great job by the commissioner, blown away, came in with, set plans with his engineers. I urge you, hopefully I can get the email or the electronic version of these plans sooner rather than later, but please stop up in my office and take a look at them. They knocked it out of the park. A reminder that Restaurant Week begins this Friday and continues through Saturday, March 29th. It's a celebration of our local culinary establishments, providing an excellent opportunity for our residents to explore our diverse dining options while supporting our local businesses. I know a few meetings ago there was a question on the boiler project. I received an email at 5:30 this evening from the business manager from the Board of Ed. The email was short, but it was very simple. The boiler project is done and the final invoice has been submitted. If there was any additional questions on that, unfortunately, I don't have probably the answers, but I heard that the boiler project is done. Follow up on the OSHA compliancy. We're gonna go a little bit more in depth because I think it's important to see where the town was and where we're going. So we'll talk about that later in the agenda. Personal property audit review. Following our engagement with TMA, which is Tax Management Associations, I have to report mixed results. And I'm gonna own these results because I was the one that spearheaded this initiative last budget year. While we generated approximately $60,000 in revenue against the $20,000 expense, this falls considerably short of the $300,000 projection that we had in the budget. Although the good news is we will not be spending anywhere near the $56,000. I will note that after the meeting or during the meeting, I have terminated the agreement with TMA in that they simply did not deliver year one of the deliverables that we all saw in the binded material that they gave us. Moving forward, which you'll note in the budget, I am proposing $10,000 in next year's budget for targeted selected audits. Typically, the town would budget $6,000 a year. I'm looking to increase that a little bit by $4,000 to just maybe potentially do a couple more audits. Listen, I'm sorry. I had great success with this company in the other town. I know several towns, not just in Connecticut, but several towns throughout the country has had great success with TMA. We simply didn't. And then a reminder, upcoming meetings. We have a special meeting next Tuesday at the Pearson School where the Board of Education will present their 2026 budget in a public hearing format. We will have all of those agendas published tomorrow. And it's, presents the opportunity for community engagement in the educational process. And last but not least, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. I see a lot of green out there. I'll open it to questions.
So, real quick, with your blessing, may I reach out to the superintendent and facilities and go over and peek at the boilers?
I see no issue with that. I don't know if it's the superintendent, but maybe there was another gentleman you spoke with, right?
Dave Cruden.
Yeah,
Yep.
maybe reach
Or
out
the
to him.
Well,
business manager, go with Nancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll run it
Yeah.
by.
Okay.
by them
Because I
before I reach out to
believe
Dave.
if you want to do it tomorrow, because I know our meeting with the superintendent got moved up. I think she's at a conference or something tomorrow. Not sure when you want to do it, but by all means, please feel free.
I'll shoot you an email on
Okay.
it. Last thing, so TMA.
Yep.
You say it was a failure, but they did find $40,000 that's permanent, correct?
You found 60.
They found 60 that's permanent. Okay.
Yeah, I beat myself up hard, and I want to, because I'm gonna miss that revenue projection in the line item. I believe I'm gonna make it up in other areas. And I really, you know, I stuck behind that company in front of this board, and I know some of you had questions about it, and is it the right thing to do? So, yes, we didn't lose money, but we also didn't make what I had, you know, initially proposed. They initially proposed, I accept their proposal and offered to all of you. I'm glad we're out of the contract. That was a very interesting meeting last week, but we're out of the contract, and we're moving on to the 26 budget.
Paul, was it the issue with TMA, there was nothing to find, or they didn't do what they should have done to find it? And when you say the contract is terminated, does that mean it was an annual budget of $20,000 we were gonna spend with them?
It was actually an annual budget of $56,000. And where it starts ticking up on it is when they really start going into the audit and the amount of work that's required for the audit. No better way to say this is our tax base are very honest individuals. It just wasn't there.
There was nothing to find.
There was nothing to find, which we should be proud of.
Yeah.
We should be very proud of that. You know, when they come in, they look at historical data of, you know, what they get in towns similar to ours, and that's how they put together this proposal. I can tell you that, you know, I hope they use our numbers. That's now going to skew their numbers down because we have a lot of honest taxpayers, which we should be proud of.
And we also had other assessors too that probably did a lot of the work. I know that there were sometimes a bunch of complaints about the assessor's office a couple of years ago, but we can see that it paid off.
It did. Excellent point.
Any other questions? We are fast approaching your one-year anniversary. With the board's permission, the next regular meeting, we should put your review on there. Is the board okay with that?
Yep.
Yep.
So, Paul, you get to choose whether it's in front of everybody or an executive session. And you don't have to answer now.
Okay.
You just have to.
Can I know how it's going to go? No, I'm kidding.
There'll be no leaks.
It's been a combination of both through different town managers over the years.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Okay. The board said okay with that, right? I just want to make sure it's
Yes.
going on the agenda? Okay.
Yes, please.
And your anniversary is April 21st?
Second.
Next month.
Bring you a cupcake.
Any other questions? Yeah, all right, moving on to item number 7, Finance Director's Report. She moved and I still can't.
Coming in from right field.
She moved and I still can't see her.
Good evening. Sorry. These are the year-to-date general fund results through February 28th, 2025. We are 8 months through the year, which is 67% of the fiscal year. Just to make a note to everyone, the report that I gave you of the general fund summary of the prior year numbers was a little bit, has some numbers that are slightly different because when I ran the report, I reran the report for fiscal 24 through February 28th, not realizing that last year was a leap year, so I had some little bit of revenue that was missing, and I wasn't going to go back and redo your report. So if the numbers are a little off, that would be why. So current year-to-date, current tax is $26,951,425. That is 98.55% of the budget. That's compared to the prior year of $26,207,962, which was 98.6%. Motor vehicle supplemental revenue, $265,849. We are at 118.16% of budget. That was compared to $222,467 in the prior year, which was at a 111.23%. Past due tax revenue, $258,781. We're at 43.13% of budgeted. That's in comparison to 227,692 in the prior year, which was 75.9%. Total revenues year-to-date, 33,136,652. We're at 81.2% of what's budgeted. That's in comparison to 33,466,122 in the prior year, and that was 85.52% of budgeted. Total expenditures year-to-date with encumbrances, 26,430,412. We are at 64.77% of budget. That's in comparison to 27,134,663, which was 69.34% last year. Our municipal aid received in the month of February, the Board of Education, the money passed to the Board of Education for special education excess cost, $393,466. We received $5,500 for the annual state library grant, $360,591 for our first reimbursement for the Wallens Hill Crystal Lake Tank DWSRF projects, and $611,669, which is our first reimbursement on the Case Avenue Bridge reimbursement from the DOT. Cash flow estimate at the end of February, $9,629,281. Of that, $4.8 million was invested, $454,000 in the Northwest Community Sweep, $2,521,853 in the State Investment Fund, and $1,828,386 in our Northwest Community Bank money market account. Our February 2025 capital expenditures: $30,227 on annual road maintenance, $17,061 for the asset management system. We had little over $7,000 for the police cruiser upfit, $18,000 for the fire station repairs and upgrades, $3,000 towards the public works facility upgrade, $231,000 for the retaining wall on East Wakefield Boulevard. The rest of these are bond projects, $111,477 for Chapel and Dayton Road, $2,489 for the Case Avenue Bridge, $17,446 for Elm Street, and $19,838 for Oakdale Avenue. Questions?
Yes, Anne Marie, the Crystal Lake reimbursement, how much did you say that we received?
360.
360, thank
Yep.
you.
That was the first reimbursement for, that was mostly, that was all engineering actually. And that was through the end of fiscal '22 that the costs were incurred. So we've done them in years.
Yes.
Is
yeah.
how we've done the for the reimbursements.
Thank you.
I do have the bound copies of the audit report from our auditors, if anyone would like a copy of them. I didn't have enough hands to bring the box down with me. So,
Can you put them in Terry's office? Or
yeah, I can bring them down, or I can take a walk up and I can bring them down and give them to anybody that would like them.
I don't want to interrupt my collection.
I do have electronic copies too, if anybody would prefer
I
electronic.
emailed the board.
Oh, you
the
emailed it,
electronic,
yeah.
Copies, and it is also available on the town's website as well. Both the single and the state.
It's not time.
Do you want the federal and state single audit or just the audit report?
All three.
Other questions?
Comments to me? So, where I gave a little doom and gloom when it came to the TMA audit, just an important note, and this really became a factor when we were looking at, as we were preparing the budget. You look at the current motor vehicle supplemental tax, it was 118% over collected. I also want you to know that although we had in our budget $225,000, we actually, bills that hit the street was $393,000. Now, obviously, there's more collection to be done, but the bills that hit the street on the motor vehicle supplemental was almost close to $400,000, which was massive, which was great. So although we may have missed the revenue projection in the TMA audit, we may be able to make a lot of that up with the supplemental taxes that went out, just considering that we almost billed out $400,000 in supplemental car bills this year.
And I did not, because we were working on the budget, I didn't have a chance. In these spreadsheets, I do typically, as we get closer to the end of the year, I do projections for the end of the year. I was going to do them for February. I did not. If I do get some time, I will do them with February's results, and then you will have projections moving forward towards the end every month for the end of the year.
So, it started making me think, on the investments, the income on investments, because we
Yes.
started a month.
Yeah, we're off
We
on.
started a month late, so we're, at 216.3, and, last year, on the copy I have is 429,887.
Yeah, we're
So that's,
running below budget right now.
right. We'll probably make budget. Not sure.
That one will be tight.
That one's gonna be close. My projection is no, we won't make it, but
'Cause we had talked about that.
I'll be optimistic, cause I'm looking at my boss there who will want me to
always
let you know that we're gonna make his budget estimate of investment income.
Yeah, well, it's just another one of those things.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's also too, looking at this is also important for this budget, what's in the current, the proposed budget too.
Correct.
The income on investments and
Correct.
what's happening out in the world and, and I bring it up too because I think that about the impact of this is having 3 referendums, and the referendums didn't just cost the money to hold another referendum. It also costs money in terms of this interest that we would earn from being late with a lot of the, being later than usual with bills.
We didn't receive a bulk of our cash.
Well, right, and we also have reimbursements that need to come back into the town that, we've been fronting the cash on some of these projects. I think there will be a discussion at some point about the bond projects, and the cash that's being funded for the bond projects too. So we are, running lower on cash flow than we would normally if we didn't have the projects ongoing.
Other questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Anne Marie.
Moving on to item number 8, correspondence. Does anyone have anything? Item 9, boards and commissions. Troy?
Okay, so tonight we have a couple of things on the agenda. We're gonna start with a reappointment for the Inland Wetlands Commission. I make a motion to reappoint Stephen, hope I get this name right, Molinelli. Term to expire 4/2028.
I'll second.
Thank you, Troy. Bill, any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
Then unfortunately, we have another resignation. Linda Dew, from the Historic Commission. We thank you, Linda, for your time and, effort on the board, and we wish you well. And then we have a nomination for an appointment for a alternate member to a full-time member. So I'd like to make a motion to appoint Ryan Horvey to the Zoning Board of Appeals full-time member. Term to end, I have no date on my paper. Anybody got a date, Glenn?
Same date that he's serving right now.
Okay,
So date to remain unchanged.
Yeah.
date to remain unchanged then.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you.
We did receive an application. Me and Mr. Pozo were not able to vet that person, and that will be brought up at our next meeting. And as always, there's still a lot of openings out there. If you want to volunteer your time and join the club, we'd be more than happy to have as many people as we can to get on these boards. Thank you.
Just a question, Troy. So the appointment from alternate to member for Mr. Horvey, is that 3 alternate openings or still 2? Did that include
No,
him?
that would bring a third
That would bring a third.
alternate.
Very important positions to fill, so if anybody's interested. Moving on to item 10, unfinished business. We have nothing unfinished currently. Item 11, new business, 25-08, refunds as recommended by the Collector of Revenue.
As you see, our collector of revenue is suggesting total refunds of $6,870.98. all of them except for one are being COCs and one being an overpayment.
I move that the Board of Selectmen authorize the refunds recommended by the Collector of Revenue in the amount of $6,870.98.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Bill. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Item B, discussion modification of the assessment schedule.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know this was brought up at our last meeting, and then I sent all of you an email. There was an emergency bill, HB 6067, which allowed the towns to modify the assessment schedule, going from 85% of the value to 90%. If we were to modify our assessments to 90%, we would be able to claw back roughly $10 million in value of motor vehicles that, because of laws that were passed down in Hartford originally, was taken away from us. The two bills have gone through, and then the third bill is looking to finally correct some of this in that not being at 85% and potentially changing the assessment to 90% if the board agrees, our grand list values for motor vehicles would jump to $92,349,220. What does that really mean? Well, if we keep the collection rate the same at 92.5%, the higher assessment level would generate additional realized revenue of $239,258. Obviously represents a significant improvement as it reduces the overall grand list decrease from $393,463 to $154,204. Before us tonight, we have a window. We do need to report to OPM which way we're going to go. It's my recommendation to the board that we do modify our assessments from 85% to 90% and claw back the additional $10 million that was clearly taken away from us.
I'd like to make a motion that we, go to the 90%. What is it, modify the, collection rate?
Not the collection rate, you want to modify the assessment
Assessment rate
to 90%.
to 90%.
I'll second.
Troy, thank you, Bill. Any other discussion?
Yeah, just for the public's knowledge of it, it was cutting it from where it was. So last year's assessment and the year before's assessment were at certain levels, and then the state legislature decided to give a gift to people on the backs of property taxes. And they didn't fill in behind it with the property tax loss of revenue. And this has happened multiple times. So we're not like we're going back to kind of where we were, where they were assessed fairly. In most cases, or people had opportunities to go to the Board of Assessment Appeals. So it's not like we're adding or making something higher than it was. In a lot of cases, it should still be less, correct?
Correct. It will be less. I'm sure you, and I wanted to print it, but then I looked at the Excel file that I sent all of you. It was 440 pages. I just didn't think that was useful.
No.
I didn't want to use a whole ream of paper, but I did cherry pick a lot of the items, and everybody with their motor vehicles will be seeing a slight reduction even from the year before, because you're only assessing it at 90% of the value. So there is still a reduction that you're going to see in your motor vehicles. It's just not as much of a reduction at 85%, it's gonna be at 90%. And then next year it goes to 85 and 80. So it's still gonna fall on the schedule. We're just gonna up it to 90% if the board approves.
We just don't want people to think that we're raising
We are not.
car taxes.
Yeah,
That's-
we are definitely
we're-
not.
Typical state.
It appears that way, but, well, I mean, it had a lot of people that voted for it at the state.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Both
know.
parties voted
I
for
know.
it, and both parties voted for the other ones, too.
Very typical.
So it was, it's what they're all doing because it's easier when they don't have to pay for it, and it comes back onto property taxes.
Right.
And there's this whole conversation going on about, CCM just sent out a email the other day, and they're gone to the legislature about how much the state has shifted over onto the property tax in every community.
yeah, they're unfunded decisions they make, and they make it fall on our backs.
And this was discussed at the most recent Northwest Hills COG meeting, and 15 of the 21 towns that were in attendance are also going to the 90% rate. All right, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? Unanimous?
Thank you. I will get this documentation over to OPM immediately. And just for the record, as you know, the proposed town manager budget did take into account that the board would potentially, so the budget does not change of what you picked up, whenever you picked it up. I had put that in the overview letter. If you didn't want to take it, we would go back and give you, a new revenue projection, but the budget will remain unchanged in terms of that, but thank you.
Item D, update on the sale of town-owned properties.
So as you know, we are set to go to town meeting on April 3rd. Tonight, before you leave, I do need signatures from all of you to engage that town meeting. Once that's done, we do have all of the publications ready to go out. We do have to publish it twice in the paper. We'll obviously have signs in town hall as well. I will be working on a presentation. Currently, we are under contract for 109 Marshall Street and 5052 Cottage Street. Feverishly working to try and get 104 Norfolk Road under contract. Not there yet. I don't want to get into the negotiations openly, but they're moving along. But we do have at least two properties that are under contract that will go forward on the April 3rd meeting. I know the board voted last meeting to do that on April 3rd. If you're still good with that, I would just need a signature to set the town meeting, and we'll move forward and we'll be ready to go. Everybody's good? Awesome, okay.
Item E, discussion on the ad hoc water level committee regarding Route 263 and Boyd Street water issues.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With us tonight is the chairperson, Willie Platt. Him and I talked, it was last week in our office, and Ms. Berger's here as well. Hello. There was a letter that he wishes to send to the DOT. He wanted the town manager and the Board of Selectmen to co-sign the letter. Me and Mr. Platt talked last week, and I said, why don't you come before the Board of Selectmen? Let's make this public. This is an issue that we're dealing with. Get a little bit of exposure on it and give you an opportunity to present the letter to the board with hopefully them agreeing to co-sign the letter as well. With that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Platt.
As you all are aware, we have a continuing issue on 263 Boyd Street when we do a drawdown on the lake. Next year is going to be a deep drawdown, so there's going to be an excessive amount of water leaving the lake and flooding 263. Public Works Director Jim Rollins has had many meetings with the state on the problem, and it seems like they get active at times and then they stop being active. So we're trying to get this ball moving to get them to kick in and see what they can do, and we're looking for the backing of the town manager and the Board of Selectmen. And hopefully we can get that something accomplished before we have the deep drawdown. And that's pretty much it.
So what do you need, a motion?
I would like to, to authorize the mayor to co-sign the letter that was put in the packet. And if you want, the mayor and the town manager, and authorizes both to co-sign the letter along with the chairman of the Water Level Committee. This did come up when the DOT commissioner was with us. Unfortunately, this was the first he was hearing it, but a lot of things don't get to that level, but it is definitely on his radar now. We do have a very open line of communication with the commissioner, so hopefully we can finally resolve this problem.
So this is a subject we've talked about numerous times on this board as well, trying to get, and we've had Mr. Rollins in front of us, and we've tried to push him to the best that we can, and he's running the same roadblocks that you are. So I move that we authorize the mayor and the town manager to co-sign this letter to DOT so that we can do everything we can to push this further.
I'll second the motion, because it definitely needs to get done, for sure.
Thank
Too
you.
long it's been going on.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Bill. Any other discussion? Okay. No further discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Unanimous?
Thank you for your
Thank
work,
you.
Riley.
Thank you.
Moving on to item F, OSHA inspection update.
So happy to report that we are not out of the woods with OSHA, but we are in terms of our fines and the work that we need to do. I included in your packet, the fines originally totaled $16,480. We did meet with Mr. Rosa beginning of last week and showed him all of the progress that we've made all over town, and asked for a reduction in our fines. As you can note, or as you can see, we did get a 50% reduction from $16,480 down to only $8,240. Also important to note that the town hall side of that is totaling $3,880. The water department is $1,960, and the sewer department is $2,400. There is still a few items everywhere. We did send another email today. We are completing things that are left to be rectified. We do have moved the rectified date all the way to July 7th and July 11th. We will make those deadlines. Where it's coming down to now is we are going to bring in the free services of the OSHA and actually have them help write some of this documentation. That is really the lengthy portion of rectifying some of the errors that we had throughout the town. But when it comes to overall safety, whether it's closets, desks, anything like that, I'm happy to report that those have all been rectified. Now it's coming down to the manual side of things, and our team is meeting with the OSHA team and creating these documents. They're gonna get us 80% there, and the other 20%, is gonna be on us, and we're confident, obviously, we can get the 20% done. My question tonight, and I did not come before this board for the $3,880. My recommendation, but it is your line item, is to take it out of the Selectmen's contingency fund. This is not something that we ultimately budgeted, but I wanted to throw that up for you ultimately, because what I want to do is I want to take the money from the contingency fund. Proper accounting practices, you really don't pay for anything out of contingency. You move that money into an account and then pay for whatever invoice. That would be my recommendation, but I didn't want to formalize it completely. I wanted to get you all, see if there's any questions, and then come back at next meeting with potentially a motion to do that. Any questions on OSHA? If you ever wanted to come up to my office, the folder has been created. It's, if you thought your budget binder was big, this is actually bigger with all of the documentation that the town received.
Question, Paul, how did we get to the 50% reduction?
We had a meeting on Monday, and I had asked and stated several reasons why I thought we needed a reduction. A lot of it being as a distressed community, the amount of work that we have completed since OSHA was here. I will tell you that the director, Mr. Rosa, was, as I stated at the last meeting, was very impressed, and it wasn't really a struggle. He said, we have absolutely zero problem with giving you, I did ask for more originally. I always, and.
Kind of where I was going with the
Yeah,
question.
I didn't want to make it sound like I lost that one. But I did ask for more originally. I was way lower than $8,240. Per Connecticut law, he is not allowed to go any less than 50% in the reduction.
Well, that's
So,
it. That answers the question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I just want to throw out, I passed this on to the Water and Sewer Commission already, the chair and the vice chair, so they're well aware of it. And I also want to state this too, that the sewer departments across the country are the, and I've said this before, are the second highest workman comp claims in the country. First is coal mining. Because on sewer, you have chemicals, you have slippery surfaces, you have bacteria, you have electricity. So for only $2,400, that's not too bad. I mean, even a tank, is a confined space, even if it's open to the top, it's still considered a confined space, so I just wanted to throw that out, that this is pretty good for sewer, really, actually.
So does the town pay the entire bill, or does the town pay $3,000?
We're gonna pay
Water and sewer.
$3,880. We're gonna write one check, and then we're gonna,
Yeah.
get reimbursed from water and sewer.
Yeah,
That's what I was
yeah,
asking.
they're aware and they're ready.
So the transfer, I will be coming before you, with, is for only $3,880, and then the rest of the money, we'll figure out. Water and sewer is gonna meet, obviously, next month.
Yeah.
We're gonna pay the bill, and then
Yep.
figure out how water and sewer is gonna pay us back.
I just want to add to this too, Paul. We discussed this at the COG meeting for the superintendent of the streets for all the towns. And we kind of made a vote that we were going to work with Winston, well, some of us are, and go to these classes to learn, because nobody has the scale that they want certain things done for plans of action are way over all our heads. So there's gonna be probably a small cost to bring somebody in. We're gonna share that cost through the COG members. So it's, everybody gets to learn, so.
So Troy, happy to report, because we obviously went through the ocean inspection, the plan of action people from OSA will not be charging the town of
Oh, okay.
Winston. They will work for free as they get us to that 80%, and then we're obviously responsible for the other 20. So excited that I was like, okay, how much is this gonna be to have,
Right.
this crew come in and get us 80% of the workload done? There's no charge to the town of Winston, so I was
Speaking
very
of-
excited.
So
Speaking
we'll
with Jim
only
and-
charge the other towns like
That's
25%.
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
$8,240.
Perfect.
No, not that much, but.
So
No,
there's-
this
there's-
this is really, it's extensive what
Yeah, oh,
that they're
yes.
asking for.
So
And,
OSHA has a lot of training online free too.
They do.
And they amend that constantly. So really, the superintendents wanna read their website as often as you possibly can. There's a lot of good information on there.
And although OSHA can come out at any time, they're supposed to do every 10 years. So hopefully we can put this behind us for at least the next decade.
We were told 7.
Okay.
Hey, it could be,
Could be tomorrow.
you shouldn't say those things, because
I
you're
know.
like, you're
I
like
almost
one
said it.
thing away from them showing up again tomorrow.
The,
We've had them there 3 years in a row at work, so if they get a phone call, they can show up anytime.
Yeah, they can't come in anytime.
This was brought up at the COG meeting this past week. Apparently OSHA has a program where if you contact them and ask them to come out and they find things, you're not fined.
That's correct.
If they come out on their own and find those same things, you are fined. So the COG is putting together a program to,
Well, that's not,
not gonna help us for 10 years,
that's
but
not 100% correct. They will not fine you on the initial visit, but when they tell you that things have to be fixed and they come back and they are not fixed, then you will be fined. That's
That's
the,
different.
the consensus with the COG members for the towns where, we wanna make sure everything's put together before we invite them in.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'll tell you from experience that if you do a voluntary inspection, you invite them in, they're a whole lot easier than if they get a phone call and they just come marching in and find stuff, without a doubt.
All right, moving on to item 12, citizens' comments. The Board of Selectmen welcomes public comments. Speakers be limited to 3 minutes. May speak once. Who wishes to speak?
Nothing, Annie? Nothing?
You guys are making this too easy tonight.
I'm holding it for a brief moment.
Good.
Moving on to item 13, Selectmen's comments and reports. Anyone?
I just got one thing. I don't know if anybody else received the emails today from residents of Winchester. I guess there was a lot of people walking around knocking on doors up there and creating a email chain that was very lengthy that ended up getting to me somehow. I did call the police, chief of police, inquired on if anybody had pulled out permits. There is Frontier people out there that did pull permits. The chief asked to, make sure that the person had the permit before he spoke with them. The residents, when I put that out, they were more nervous, like that they didn't wanna open the door and be close enough to see their permit. My recommendation, anybody that's watching or from Winchester, if somebody comes to your door and you don't feel comfortable, don't answer your door. But there is legitimate Frontier workers out there.
Anyone else? Candy?
Yeah, I just want to give you all update on the Sue Grossman Trailway. I know, Greenway. What's your
Bill?
name? Bill.
Bill?
Bill is on the group with us, as well as Jeff and Candace and Rista and Tom Carter, and Paul will be coming as he can. So basically, we've dubbed them Segment 3 and Segment 4 for planning. We've had a couple meetings already to start talking about what we're gonna do with Segment 3 and 4. We focused on brainstorming and the challenges associated with each segment. We do have a meeting on March 27th informally. It's an informal meeting to talk about the yield industry that owns the land back between the Still River and Route 8. The trail was supposed to come up Old Route 8, up Rowley Street. There's been some discussion about going back on the other side on the yield industry property. Other people have had discussions with that, but we're gonna have a discussion to see if the feasibility of it. We do have a little State Department of Transportation contact, because when we finish Segment 3 at New Street, the question is, where do we go from New Street into town? And there's a couple problems going in every direction, or either on the right side or left side. And so we're talking to somebody from the Transportation Department about signaling or traffic lights or crosswalks on that. Bill, our man over here, whose name I remember now, he was able to get us the original engineering plans, all that wondering we've all done all these years. Who knew that Bill could solve it in like a week and a half?
Just one phone call.
And so we do have the guys on staff, Tom and Jeff, have created an organizational file where we've been putting everything into it so that no one ever has to hunt for this again. If we get it finished, in my lifetime, then it won't matter that you have to hunt for documents. But for those people that come after my lifetime, to finish Segment 4, we're gonna do Segment 3. But to finish all of that, it's all in one place, so we don't have to go look. So if we still get the grant, the $2 million Fed grant, it has to be shovel-ready by September 2027. In order to do that, we have to have a submission to DOT by September 2026 for review. And we have an expenditure deadline of 5 years from 2027, which equals 2032. So our priorities are to have this discussion on the location of Segment 3. We'll continue to look at Segment 4, and we're also gonna keep looking at input from people and where we're gonna go from there. I know Rista, with her knowledge within the COG area, and just said with the state and grants, will certainly be an asset in helping us look for those things once we decide which is the best way for us to continue through Segment 3. So we'll keep you updated as we move along, but I just wanted you to know that for now.
Just comment that you better not be going anywhere before 2032. I mean, that's not that many years away. We need you here.
Well, I hope I'm not going that way
All right,
either
good.
before 2032.
You said in your lifetime. I mean, we gotta have
Well,
this done by
then that's,
2032.
thanks again, Paul, for the
So,
tempting fate. Okay, Paul, sorry.
So for, one of the great public areas for recreation that we have are the beaches at Highland Lake. And for years, they have really been deteriorating, and they become less beaches and more about weed areas where you could put down a blanket and try to bat down the grass. I would like to recognize, under the direction of Paul Harrington, the redress at Holland Beach that took place over the last week or so. If you've been by there, it is now once again a beach. The sand looks terrific. There'll be ability to build a sand castle and have some fun, and it's really wonderful for the residents. I'd like to also recognize Danny Stoughton of Mountaintop Trucking, who provided all of the trucking of the sand from where it was purchased at no charge to the town to bring it in and get it delivered to the beach. And again, I think for the residents of this town, this is a significant improvement for the ability for them to get out on hot days and enjoy the lake and enjoy the beaches. I would further suggest that we do the same at Risha, which also is in need of a redress there, Paul, and if that is at all possible, I think we should try to get that done before the season starts as well. But great job. It looks tremendous. If you have had a chance to walk out there and see it, it really looks great. So thank you for that.
And I would be remiss, and I almost feel like it's a little downer, but hopefully it's not. The lead service line inventory, that's gonna be starting in the spring. People that were on the water system, excuse me, got a card to help them out, to go down into the basement and take a look. Out of the 2,400 roughly residents on the water system, only 200 people responded. So that's 2,200 people that haven't. The rec department's gonna do a touch-a-truck here pretty soon, and the water department's gonna be there with examples of what a copper line looks like, a cast iron looks like, and what a lead pipe looks like, and plastic, so you can determine it. So this would really help these guys out here to, if people went into their basements, took a look to see what's coming through their wall. If it's, you know, the copper color, then you know it's copper, but if you're not really sure, because if it's deemed unsure, they're gonna consider it lead. So, and they do have strategic plans how they're gonna do each neighborhood and everything like that. So it is coming up, spring start. So it'd be nice to,
And that's surprising too, Bill, because it's for their own health.
it's for their own
Lead
health.
is very damaging to
Good.
children.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
That the water department partner with the schools?
Yep,
And have the
yep.
schools send it
That's a
out
good idea.
through their message system, so that way it will hit 1,000 families at least.
Yes,
And just make sure you really detail that's not like a big danger, you know, just be
Yes.
careful with what you write.
that's what I'm saying.
And
Yeah.
Bill, if the residents have questions, is there
Yes.
somewhere they can take a picture and actually email it to the water department where the guys could say,
Well, that's kind of what the card was about. You took a picture and then you had the barcode or whatever it is there, and then you would send it in. That's what I did, and I did it for a friend of mine too, snapped a picture and sent it in to them. So you could, but that's not getting it really to where they need it to be, because it needs to go through that system.
Town manager?
Two items just came up. First, the Risa Beach. We did actually the Parks Department did add sand there last year. Our goal right now this year is we're gonna fluff that sand. And I think once we fluff it, it'll restore the liveliness of that. And I do apologize with Selectwoman Perez's recommendation of teaming up with the schools. I hope at our next meeting that I announce that Everbridge is going to be live. I haven't given you an update on that. We are meeting again Wednesday or Thursday this week. I believe that will be not our final meeting. There was a little bit of an issue with our rep, has now gone off into a new area, so we've gotten a new rep, so there was a little bit of a delay, but I've really wanted this thing out there. So if we can get that live, even if we have a few subscribers in the beginning, it's just another way of communicating. So I hope to be able to go live with that sooner rather than later. I'll have more information either Wednesday or Thursday once we have that meeting.
Maybe we could throw out a reminder on social media or on the website about the lead service line, about people doing this.
100%.
It'll make everything go a lot smoother and easier. Because they're gonna be hydro jetting all the service valves for the water. So they're gonna come in with a high pressure water, vacuum it out. And then if the valve is bad, the plan is to fix it right there, fix that valve. So it's not gonna be, the town crew, it's gonna be somebody else that subbed this out, so.
A valve into the house or a valve in a pipe?
The valve down, the curb valve where you shut the water off to the house. That's where they're gonna be testing it all. That's
Or
where
in
they're
the
gonna-
yard.
In the yard, that's where they're gonna be hydro checked.
Every single house?
That's part of that's not every single house, they'll attack like a street, and they'll do like maybe every other house, and if they're finding that there's no lead, there's no sense in doing the rest of the street, because they're figuring it. We were talking, especially the older houses actually might have the lead, and that's the concern. Some of the older ones, my house was built in '86, I have all copper, so. Yes.
And
Sometimes the cast iron has lead sealing, so that's considered a problem, so.
Yes.
And just a reminder, Restaurant Week starting this Friday. Come see what Winston has to offer. Once again, congratulations to Emily Errol, Evan Sheeby, and the rec travel basketball coaches, Rich and Murphy.
And with that, I'd like to make a motion to
second Troy's motion.
All in favor? Good night, be safe.
Okay, you know what, let's give that to them. Mr. Platt, do you want to sign it and I'll send it from my office, or do you want me to sign it and I'll give it to you? Which do you prefer?
I don't care.
If I send it, you don't have to buy the stamp. Well, technically you do, you're a taxpayer. Well, I got Todd's signature there, so do you want to sign that one?
I have their studio.
Yes. Don't worry. Don't you worry. Don't you. By the way, are we still live?
And by the way, what are the time, gentlemen?
Different